Trump blends new policies with old grievances in his 2024 campaign. It's a departure from his last presidential run, which centered on promises made, promises kept rather than fresh policy proposals. Toughen penalties for teens who break the law. Order the direct election of school principals. Build 10 new cities on federal land, and tent cities for the homeless. Former President Donald Trump is firing a fusillade of policy proposals into the GOP presidential primary. The effort to one-up rivals in the early stages of the race may help Trump shift focus from his mounting legal woes and the failings of high-profile candidates he backed in key midterm races. But the main purpose, some close advisors to Trump say, is to offer primary voters a forward-looking vision that emphasizes what he plans to do, a notable shift from his 2020 campaign, which centered on promises made, promises kept, and a response to conservatives who worry he's too focused on the past. Dubbed Agenda 47, Trump's developing platform mixes new, recast and recycled planks, some of which simply didn't get much attention in the last election, to give his campaign a fresher look. An outside advisor who speaks regularly with Trump said the former president's agenda on education is noticeably new and different, along with a few other issues that are at a boiling point. The person also stressed that the first campaign is Trump's model. It's similar to 2016, the advisor said. He doesn't really revisit 2020 campaign strategy. I can tell you that. Trump's proposed agenda also serves to counter Ron DeSantis' still unannounced but widely expected presidential campaign. As Florida's governor with a supermajority in the state legislature, DeSantis, who polls as Trump's most competitive rival for the GOP presidential nomination, has been able to garner attention and gain favor in conservative circles in part through advancing a number of culture war-focused proposals, including legislation to restrict teaching on race and gender. President Trump has a lot of unfinished business, Jason Miller, a senior campaign advisor, said. He has a very clear vision for what he wants to do for a second term. Two outside organizations that are influential with the Trump campaign's policy generation are the America First Policy Institute, seen as a recruiting hub for staffers in a future Trump administration, and the Heritage Foundation, a long-standing conservative think tank that has taken on a more Trumpian posture in recent years. A top Trump advisor said the agenda rollout has worked to counteract the diminished megaphone at his disposal. As a result of his ouster from office, fixation on his defeat and role in the January 6 attack on the Capitol, which led to the suspension of his social media accounts and a lessening in his coverage, including on Fox News, Trump has struggled to generate the kind of attention he received during his past campaigns, even as the vast majority of polls show him to be the GOP's presidential frontrunner. The problem is his megaphone is not as large as it once was. And that's a continuing challenge, this person said, adding that through a combination of email blasts to supporters and media coverage, they've noticed primary voters have become more familiar with his plans for the future. It's most decidedly having an impact. Many of the proposals seek to plant a flag in culture war battles that rile up social conservatives or speak to education and crime-focused voters who are dismayed by the post-COVID landscape. Trump has called for overhauling federal standards for disciplining minors, punishing doctors who provide gender-affirming care and barring any federal agency from promoting the concept of sex and gender transition at any age or using misinformation and disinformation when describing domestic speech. While he's also pushed to institute universal baseline tariffs and phase out all imports of essential goods from China, perhaps the most curious proposals were contained in his Quantum Leap agenda, in which Trump says as president he would hold a contest to charter as many as 10 new cities on federal land, invest in vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, and send cash to new parents. I don't think they've got polling on how this plays politically, but it sounds like a Trump thing, the outside advisor said of his Quantum Leap platform. It's a good idea. If I were DeSantis, I would just say, hey, Florida is the Freedom City, Florida's one big freedom city. It's a departure from his last presidential run, which centered on promises made, promises kept rather than fresh policy proposals.